So, boom. Imagine you wrote and produced a song for a big R&B artist. It's been almost 10 years. The song's still out, still spinning, and you say you haven't seen a dime of your SoundExchange royalties because the artist allegedly won't sign one piece of paperwork. Now you're on Instagram posting emails from SoundExchange like, "Hey y'all, we literally can't pay your royalties without this artist's signature." That's what Grammy-winning songwriter Tiffany Red says is happening with Tamar Braxton's song King. And as of today, Tamar has not publicly responded to these specific royalty claims. This is Receipts and Reasonable Doubt, and this is an allegations only episode. So we're going to walk through the receipts Tiffany posted, explain how SoundExchange and letters of direction actually work, and then talk about what we know, what we don't, and where we got to leave room to believe, doubt, or both. You are now tuned in to Receipts and Reasonable Doubt with Hunny Hearsay, where we don't just chase the headline, we read the fine print. Today's episode is part of our playlist, Allegations Only, Believe, Doubt, or Both, which means everything we're talking about is based on one side's receipts, public posts, and statements. No court ruling, no full 360 from everybody involved. Disclaimer. Everything discussed in this video is alleged based on public statements, social media posts, and media reports. These matters have not been fully proven or resolved in a court of law. Everyone mentioned is presumed innocent unless proven otherwise. Do not use this content to harass, threaten, or dox anyone. All right, let's set the stage because this is not some random TikTok beef. Tiffany Red is a Grammy-winning songwriter and artist who's been in the game for almost 2 decades. She's worked with folks like Zendaya, Tamar Braxton, Jason Derulo, and more, and she founded an org called the 100%ers to fight for songwriter rights and fair pay. On the other side, we've got Tamar Braxton, Grammy-nominated singer, reality TV star, and R&B powerhouse. One of the songs in her catalog is King off her album Calling All Lovers, and Tiffany is publicly credited as a writer and producer on that record. So this isn't like I wrote a hook for my cousin's mixtape. This is a song on a major artist project with Tiffany listed in the credits. And according to Tiffany, that one record has turned into a 10-year fight over royalties. Over the last couple years, Tiffany has been real vocal online about artists allegedly taking publishing and not paying writers fairly. She's named Beyonce, Zendaya, Tamar, Seven Streeter, and others in that bigger conversation. But in late 2025, she zoomed in specifically on Tamar and the song King. On Instagram and Threads, Tiffany says she has not received her SoundExchange royalties for King in almost a decade. She claims those royalties are stuck because SoundExchange is waiting on Tamar's signature on a letter of direction, or LOD, and she alleges she's been trying to get that signature for years with no success. She even posts a video asking people to tag Tamar, saying she can't tag her herself because she's blocked. Now pause. Those are Tiffany's claims. As of this recording, Tamar has not put out a detailed public response walking through her side of this specific SoundExchange situation. That silence is important context, but it is not proof of guilt or innocence. It just means we're mostly hearing from one side. So let's look at the receipts Tiffany posted and then talk about what they actually prove. Receipt number 1 takes us back to 2017. Tiffany posts an email from what appears to be SoundExchange's document assurance team. The subject references a letter of direction for Tamar Braxton in favor of Tiffany Red Publishing, Inc. In the body, SoundExchange basically says the letter of direction they received was signed by Vincent Herbert, not by Tamar herself. To honor the agreement, they either need Tamar's own signature or a separate artist authorization form giving Vincent permission to sign LODs on her behalf. And they ask that the document be resubmitted with the proper artist signature or authorization. Tiffany says Tiffany Red Publishing is her company, so the implication is she's trying to get SoundExchange to send her some of Tamar's featured artist royalties via this LOD. Now, here's the key part. This email does show that in 2017, SoundExchange would not act on that LOD without Tamar's direct sign-off or proper authorization. It does not show whether Tamar saw this email, whether she refused, delayed, or never even got told about it, whether her team disputed the splits. So it proves there was an attempt to redirect royalties and that the paperwork at that point wasn't valid. But it does not prove Tamar's intent. Fast forward to October 2025 and beyond. In the receipts Tiffany posted, you see a newer email chain from SoundExchange's Letters of Direction /QA team. One email references a letter of direction from Tamar Braxton for Tiffany Red and says it was not actionable as submitted. Then they lay out what's missing. SoundExchange says every LOD needs their official LOD agreement form, signed by the artist. It also needs a repertoire chart listing the recordings where Tiffany participated. They can't honor third-party agreements instead of their own forms. In a later reply, a manager from SoundExchange explains that because LODs divert featured artist royalties, they must be signed by Tamar herself or an authorized LOD signatory. And they underline there's no other way for SoundExchange to divert those featured artist royalties from Tamar's account to Tiffany's. So again, what does this prove? It shows that in 2025, SoundExchange is still telling Tiffany's side. We cannot pay you from Tamar's SoundExchange account until we get a properly documented LOD signed by Tamar. It shows the red tape, specific forms, signatures, charts, and signature rules. What it doesn't prove is why those documents are still incomplete. Is Tamar refusing to sign? Is there a behind-the-scenes business dispute? Did lawyers tell her not to sign a specific version? Did the label or admin drop the ball on moving it forward? We simply don't know. The emails don't say Tamar refused. They say, we still need Tamar's signature and proper paperwork. Tiffany interprets all of this as her royalties being held hostage by Tamar not signing. That's her framing in her own posts and videos. As receipts and reasonable doubt, what we can safely say is there is a documented history of SoundExchange telling Tiffany, we can't divert Tamar's royalties to you without Tamar's signed LOD and the right forms. Tiffany feels disrespected and dismissed by how long this has dragged on. We do not have a public statement from Tamar explaining her side of this process. So we can't jump all the way to Tamar is definitely doing X on purpose. We can only say Tiffany alleges this. The receipts show the system is stuck at the step where Tamar's signature and forms are required. All right, let's zoom out and talk about the system because this is where a lot of artists and writers get tripped up. SoundExchange is a nonprofit that collects and pays out digital performance royalties for sound recordings. Things like internet radio, satellite radio, some digital streaming uses. It splits money between the featured artist, the sound recording owner, usually the label or rights holder, and funds for non-featured musicians. Now, if you're a producer, mixer, engineer, or creative participant who isn't the featured artist, you don't automatically get a check from SoundExchange. The featured artist has to file a letter of direction or LOD telling SoundExchange, take X% of my featured artist royalties for this song and pay it to this person instead. SoundExchange's rules say LODs are powerful because they literally divert money away from the artist's account. So they have strict signature requirements. For living performers, the LOD has to be signed by the featured artist themselves or their authorized LOD signatory. They need their official form and a repertoire chart listing which songs it applies to. If any of that is missing, they won't process it. It just sits there. So when you hear Tiffany say, I haven't been paid for King in 10 years, and then you see these emails, what they show is SoundExchange has not yet activated an LOD that sends Tamar's SoundExchange royalties to Tiffany, because from their perspective, they still don't have all the required paperwork and Tamar's valid signature. Now, is that because Tamar is being malicious? Is it because this is a messy admin situation? Is it both? That's where we head into reasonable doubt. Let's separate this cleanly because this playlist is literally called Allegations Only, Believe, Doubt, or Both. What the receipts plus public info support. Tiffany is credited as a creator on Tamar's song King and is an established songwriter and advocate. She publicly says she hasn't received her SoundExchange royalties for that record in about 10 years and that she believes the holdup is Tamar's unsigned paperwork. Emails Tiffany posted from SoundExchange show. In 2017, they rejected an LOD tied to Tamar because it wasn't signed by Tamar or backed by an artist authorization. In 2025, they again say the LOD is not actionable without their official forms and Tamar's signature, and that there's no alternate path to divert those featured artist royalties. SoundExchange's own public documents confirm that they require a properly executed LOD signed by the featured artist to pay creative participants like producers or engineers. So if you're Tiffany and you've been chasing this for years, it absolutely makes sense that it feels like your money is sitting behind one missing signature. What we do not know, we don't know Tamar's side. Has she been asked to sign multiple times? Does she dispute how much Tiffany should get? Is there some private settlement or recoupment issue in the background? Do her lawyers have a reason they don't like the current paperwork? We have no detailed public statement from Tamar laying that out. We don't know what conversations happened off email, phone calls between managers, lawyers, label people. None of that is in these receipts. We don't know what's in Tamar's contracts. There might be things in her label deal, her producer agreements, or her publishing admin that conflict with certain LOD language. We haven't seen those. We don't know if the delay is malice, neglect, legal caution, or a mix of all three. The emails only say, we still need Tamar's valid signature and our forms. They don't attach a motive to why that hasn't happened yet. So when people online jump to, Tamar is stealing or Tiffany is lying, that's where this show taps the brakes. We can say Tiffany alleges Tamar's unsigned paperwork has blocked her SoundExchange money. The receipts show the system is stuck at that step. We cannot say, as a legal fact, why it's stuck. Whether you're Team Tiffany, Team Tamar, or Team Baby, I'm minding my business. There are some lessons in this for anybody making music. Handle your paperwork early. If you know a producer, writer, or engineer is supposed to get SoundExchange money, get that LOD sorted when the record comes out, not 10 years later. Know your role in the royalty chain. Know the difference between publishing royalties, writers, PROS, mechanicals, and sound recording performance royalties, SoundExchange featured artists, LODs. Don't rely on vibes and verbal promises. I got you is not a contract. If your money depends on somebody else's account, you need documents with your name and a percentage on them. Advocacy matters. Tiffany has made a whole second career out of fighting for songwriters. You shouldn't have to go that hard just to get paid, but in this system, having someone who will push back does make a difference. Don't turn disputes into dog piles. Real people are involved. Harassing Tamar in her comments or dragging Tiffany for speaking up doesn't fix the larger problem. A music industry where the people who actually make the songs often get paid last or not at all. So where does that leave us? On one side, we have Tiffany Red with a decade-long paper trail and emails from SoundExchange saying, we can't move your royalties until Tamar signs this properly. On the other, we have Tamar Braxton, who, at least publicly, hasn't laid out her side of this SoundExchange drama, which means all we can do is speculate, and that's exactly what we don't do on this channel. So I'm leaving you with this question. When the paperwork is incomplete and the money's not moving, do you believe the person saying, my bag is being blocked? Do you doubt it? Or do you think the truth is sitting somewhere messy in the middle? Drop your thoughts respectfully in the comments. No threats, no doxing, no dragging people's families. We are here to talk about systems, contracts, and power, not to send mobs after real people. If you learned something about royalties today, hit like, subscribe, and share this with the most talented, underpaid songwriter you know. This has been Receipts and Reasonable Doubt. Allegations only. Believe, doubt, or both. I'm Hunny Hearsay, and I'll see you on the next docket. Hey, it's your animated bestie, Hunny Hearsay. Don't forget, you can find me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Hunny Hearsay so you never miss an episode of Receipts and Reasonable Doubt.